Morning folks, welcome back to the track, or the new extended track of course. We extended it about a week or so ago. So the plan for today is to resume a project that I was doing with Gary Skip on my Scalextric Lamborghini Gallardo. You might remember that we were doing a phased upgrade to the car. We were doing like a 3-phase upgrade to see how much power or performance we could get out of it from its standard pack when it arrived. Admittedly, it arrived pretty bust up anyway. But anyway, we got stopped due to the pandemic. I couldn't go there and everyone was in lockdown and there's nothing we could do, and we basically had to put the whole thing on hold. But today we are going to resume it. So I'm going to go over to Gary's and we are going to get some tyres fitted to the Scalextric Lambo. And not only that, hopefully he can lower the ride height on the car as well. It is time to set the first track lap time on my new setup on the completely improved and extended track that I showed about a week or so ago. This is the new layout, much bigger than the old layout, hence it's currently on the floor. I'm going to try and get this put back onto some tables as soon as possible, but as you can see, it's a considerably bigger and more extended layout. So now I'm going to have to redo my lap time table, which I will do in due course. But the reason we're starting with the Scalextric Lamborghini Gallardo is because we're about to do a second modification on this car. So the first mod that Gary did some time ago now was to improve the motor and to improve the setup of the axles on the car. So that did improve it quite a bit, and if you look at the old lap times on the old track, it was quite an improvement, quite shocking actually how much it improved. Now what we need to do now is set a lap time on this car so that I can put the new tyres on it. Well, I'm going to get Gary to do it because he's going to set them all up and make sure that they're scrubbed in. So the new tyres are going to go on this car very soon. So before we put the new tyres on, what I want to do is set a benchmark time with the old tyres. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be the first time that a benchmark time has been set on the new track. Quite exciting. Now the other key important point is I will be, instead of using the Scalextric arc timer, you will have noticed I've switched to the Carrera light bridge. So some cars like the NSR, like the Carrera cars, do not have black guides. The Carreras have red guides, the NSRs have white guides, and that means the ARC for some reason doesn't read them. Now you can paint the guides to a different colour, which is what I did. I painted them black using Humbrol paint, but after doing about 20 laps the paint wore off and the Scalextric arc wouldn't read them again. The way we're going to do this is these 2 points here mark the starting point on the track, so you know where to line the car up to because you're lining them up to these arrows here. And to make sure the light bridge is in the absolute correct position, what you'll see, and I'll do my best to zoom in on it, where the split of the track goes along here, I don't know whether you can see there where the split of the track joins, is exactly lined up with where the split of the light bridge joins. So hopefully each time I set it up in that regard, it will be a fair and accurate test whichever car I run. Today we are going to time and run the Scalextric Lamborghini Gallardo, and as usual for the previous lap times and lap tests that we did, I'm going to warm it up. I can have at least 10 laps at least to get this thing warmed up, and then once it's warmed up then we will do a track time. Let's start off by giving this Lambo a bit of a warm up. Need to get those tyres warmed up. Now you've got to allow me a little bit of time here, guys, because it's quite hard to film this car and drive it at the same time. So what I will be doing is, when it comes to setting the lap time, clearly I won't be holding the camera. There will be cameras positioned around the track. So, but yes, this gives you an idea of how smooth this track is. It really is beautifully smooth now. You can really get it open down there. These straights, you can really get these cars open now if you know what you're doing. It was amazing how well Gary was able to drive these cars around, being a bit more of a professional at it than I am. Not easy to do when you're filming, but we're getting there. Those tyres are getting warmed up nicely. The thing you've got to be careful of is this area at the top here. As you come down, this is the easy bit. As you come round here, very easy, as you can see there, to accidentally get the car stuck or cause it to fishtail, or indeed hit the light bridge. I have actually done that once because it's gone through too fast and skewed into the light bridge. Okay, right, so I'm going to do a few more laps with this. I'm going to stop the camera now, have a good practice, do a few more laps, and then once she's really nice and warm, we will time it and see how fast it can do 10 laps of my track with its old tyres on. Time to find out how fast this Lamborghini Gallardo can get around my track. Now the trick here is not to be doing massive tail slides. You've just got to try and keep it beautifully glued to the track as much as possible, with as little drift as possible. And I can tell you, a lap is easier said than done. Well, that's a good one. Slight snag there, couple of snags. Definitely taking a lot longer now to get round this circuit than it did on the old circuit. Little slight snag there. Right, there we go. 10 laps covered. Let's bring the car in, nice and steady, and let's take a look at the score and see how this Lamborghini Gallardo performed on the Scalextric track. So, here we go, folks. So it did 10 laps in precisely 1 minute 25.22 seconds, and the fastest lap was 8.14 seconds. So there you go, we've now set a lap time for the Lambo, ready to have its tyres changed, and we'll find out whether or not a new set of tyres will make any difference. Okay, so I'm at Gary's workshop once again, back after quite a long time, because it was a long time, wasn't it, when we last did this, actually, thinking about it.
Haven't seen the Lamborghini in a while.
No, we haven't seen the Lambo in a while because of the pandemic. Knocked us out of Kiel, and we all had to go into self-isolation for about 3 months or something like that. So it's been a bit horrendous. It's been a long time, but I've finally got the Lambo back to Gary's awesome workshop, and we've come up with lots of ideas for the stuff we're going to do. But today it's time to put some new tyres onto the Lamborghini and then take it back and find out if it's made any difference, which I'm sure it will, to the car and how fast it goes around the track. So Gary's going to take us through the process of how to do it properly, which I can't do. Are we doing 2 sets of tyres then, Gary, or 1 set of tyres?
Yeah, we're going to change the rear tyres and the front tyres.
Okay.
And the rears are going to give us some more grip, so that will help you handling in your lap times. And the fronts are going to be low profile ones.
Yes, because I remember you saying when we talked about tyres before, and that the rear ones are the most important ones, and the front ones almost need to skid, don't they, or not grip? Is that right?
Yeah, they definitely don't want to grip, and they want to be skimming the surface, or in the case of some cars, not even touching the surface.
Right.
Now,
okay.
if you're racing a club, there might be rules around that say the tyres have to touch the surface.
Okay.
But obviously, for your situation, you just want the car to drive well.
Yes.
The problem with these tyres as standard is they're quite chunky.
Yeah.
So, what that will do is it'll lift the guide out of the slot, and you can see, if you can zoom in there, you can see that the blade isn't even in the slot all the way.
Oh yes, correct. There we go. Let's just have a look at that.
And that's because the front tyres are propping the front of the car up.
Oh, I see. Will the front tyres not cause it, having new tyres, to grip unnecessarily? Or
It really depends. A lot of the professional front tyres that you can buy are hard and shiny anyway. So they'll be literally slick.
Oh, I see.
These are urethanes because this age of Scalextric car doesn't accept most sizes of tyres, aftermarket tyres, unfortunately. Okay. So the urethane market is really what's keeping these kind of cars alive, because people are sort of making hand-making tyres for both the rear and the front.
So I noticed there's a lot of dirt coming out of that, actually, Gary. It's amazing how much stuff came out when you did that.
Yeah, well, I remember cleaning it before.
Yeah.
So the source of the dirt is
my house.
Is obviously your house.
Track.
Yes, exactly.
Oh dear. Oh dear. But it only runs on a track, on a pure track. So the track must be. This
is what happens. I think a lot of people are surprised as to why the cars don't run so well, or they lose grip, or they stop working, and it's just because they get dirty.
Because they get dirty,
They either get fluff in the gear train on the tyres, it causes them to lose grip. They get fluff on the braids, it causes them to lose power. It's just a problem with running at home.
Right.
And it's not your home, it's everybody's home. Homes are dusty.
Yes. And we're just looking at these tyres here, so you can see there 2 different types. Tiny ones on the front, big ones on the back. Yeah. New tyres going on.
Now we treed these wheels last time.
We did, we treed them,
do that this time.
Yes, that's if people want to have a look back at the previous one that Gary did, you will see that he had to go through quite a long process actually of truing the wheels. We did lots of stuff actually, but we also did the axle, didn't we? We refixed the axle to the chassis.
Yes.
It's quite a lot. It was quite involved. There's a lot done, and it made a massive difference to the performance of the car. So this is like stage 2.
So, although we would normally true the tyres, it's extra essential to do it with the urethanes because they'll just be slippery otherwise.
Right.
So we're just going to take that black sheen off them.
Right.
And they'll go into a more grey colour, which is a little less visually appealing.
Yeah.
But it just comes with the territory.
But it makes it grip. Yeah. And the last thing we want is rear tyres sliding around.
Is that live? It is live. Okay. Of course, if you're doing this on with a power supply like I am, you want to run the wheels backwards, not forwards.
Okay.
Because it's just easier to control the car when you're doing this.
Right.
You'll be able to see that.
So you're using again, is it fine grit sandpaper? Is that right?
Yeah, just a piece of sandpaper, ordinary DIY supply stuff. And you'll see the tyres start to go grey, and you'll get this grey dust come off them as well. But these are actually made by Mike Dadson, who races at the Worthing Club.
Oh, okay. So they're made in the UK?
These are in the UK, yeah. But he was the first person I thought of that would be able to help us with this.
So wow, I didn't know that. So these tyres then, just to clarify, have been made by a gentleman here in the UK, handmade?
Correct.
Oh my goodness. I would never ever have thought of that. I thought you just bought them in volume from China and that was it, but these are the real thing. You know what, it's just occurred to me then that these tyres are rarer than the car because aren't they? They are.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they have been specifically made for this car by this person.
If you do this with a rubber tyre and it gets too hot, you can start to melt the surface and then you pretty much ruin the tyre. Urethane doesn't behave like rubber, so you can get you're going to melt urethane.
Is urethane better than rubber?
Not in my opinion.
Okay.
But this is what's available for this car.
For this car, right.
So
we have to go with what's available for the car.
Scalextric made these really weird wheels at this point in their production. And other tyres just don't fit on them. So that's why the urethane is the only option. Because they're handmade, they're made for the weird wheels.
There's a guy called Harry Metcalf who used to own Evo magazine. He has a Lamborghini, very old Lamborghini, and he has to have his tyres specially made in Italy for him because you can't get them anymore. And what's interesting is this is the same problem.
If this was going to be a serious racer, I would probably do that. I would true them down so they were even thinner and then I would varnish them again.
Right, okay.
But just for racing on your track, I don't think
it's not worth
necessary.
It. No. I'm expecting some big speed increases now.
I bet
it will actually.
The grip given by the rear tyre should definitely improve your lap times, even if the fronts don't do anything. Looks okay to me actually on the front. You're not going to get that much further in. So, and in fact, we do have a very slight gap underneath the front tyres. Which is perfect.
Let's just get that. Look at that. Look at how that sits now. So there we are. The Lambo is now fitted and ready. Look, and as you can see, as Gary said, that is fitting so much closer to the track now. The ride height has been dropped quite a bit, and the new tyres are now on the car, so we're going to take it back and test it and see how it goes. And so now we've got the Lambo back. Luckily I've got Gary here I've withheld from driving it until Gary was here to actually see it for himself.
You can see the light coming through the air gap at the front tyres and it's just touching on the outside edge. So it's perfect.
So I've just completed my 10 lap run, but Gary's here and he's been filming this for me. He's the guy who did the upgrade, and as you all know, Gary is a much better driver than I am. I thought it would be interesting to do a test to see how much faster, if at all, he can get round this track than I can. Okay, so this is it then. 10 laps of the track. Gary driving this time on the modified new tyres, low ride height.